Rafael Devers avoided talking to the media after Tuesday night's Red Sox loss, and it says a lot about his inability to be a true team leader.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part is it is all completely free. So you might as well tune in because you really have nothing to lose. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB, all lowercase, to win $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. PrizePicks, run your game. Welcome to the show. Those of you who are everydayers and those of you who are newbies, I thank you all so much for tuning in. And those of you who are new, I understand that this Red Sox team is frustrating. I understand that their playoff hopes have not looked very promising as of late, and they just cannot get it together overall. I understand all of those frustrations, but what I can tell you is that this show is here every day despite that, and my feelings about this team, I guarantee you, are the same as yours. So if you're looking to listen to a show that doesn't just sit there and talk about the positives all the time, this is the show for you because this team has absolutely been frustrating. Of course, there are positives like the future, and I'm going to be talking about one of those future pieces a little bit later on in the show. And I'm also going to be talking about a player who's been significantly struggling since the Red Sox acquired him at the trade deadline, and it's looking a lot worse and worse by the day for Boston. But one of the biggest things heading into this Red Sox season, for a team that is so focused on trying to build for the future and formulate the pieces of the puzzle that are going to be part of that future and the success of the organization down the road, one of the biggest questions was about who's going to be the team leader during all of this. When the time comes and the Red Sox have this nice, young, formulated core that they're relying on for years to come to be the future of this franchise, who's going to be the guy that they can look at and say, he is the clubhouse leader, he takes responsibility, he takes accountability, and he keeps this team in check? And people wanted to think that was going to be Rafael Devers because he signed this massive contract extension with the team. And whether he wants that title or not, he is the face of the franchise right now. And he is the guy that for years to come, the Red Sox are going to look at as the glue to the core. And that just is what it is. It comes with the price of being super talented and a great baseball player. But Devers has been seriously struggling as of late. He's just been playing through shoulder pain basically all season. It started for him during spring training, and he has rested some games this season to try to fix it, but it hasn't been fixed, and he's been dealing with it all season long. And so in that regard, I do get his frustration because as of late, he has not been able to figure things out at the plate. He went 1 for 21 with 0 walks and 6 Ks in 5 games on this Red Sox road trip that they're on right now. And that's got to be frustrating for him. So after Tuesday night's game, when he was left with that stat line and was seeing how he's performed on the road trip, he sat in the locker room with a bat for 40 minutes, refusing to talk to the media and just stared into his locker. And it felt like he was trying to reflect maybe on what's been going on lately and how things have been frustrating and not exactly going his way, because the media relations staff told him that reporters wanted to talk with him, and he had everybody wait around for more than an hour, then left without speaking at 10:55 p.m. after he showered and dressed, and the game ended around 9:45 p.m. So he stared into the locker for 40 minutes. Media relations was trying to get him to talk to reporters, and then he left without speaking. So he basically avoided the media altogether, which, again, I get it. It's frustrating. That was the Red Sox fourth straight loss, and prior to that had lost 10 of its past 13 games, and they just weren't generating a lot of offense in that time span. With the chronic shoulder injury on top of that, how he's just been sore in that area all season long, he has to have been frustrated in his performance that night too, because he went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts on Tuesday. So the frustration for sure is warranted. I'm not saying it's not. And at the end of the day, Devers has still had a good season despite dealing with the shoulder issues. He has a 905 OPS, 28 homers, 33 doubles, 5 triples, and 80 RBIs over 123 games, 538 plate appearances, and honestly is a huge reason why the Red Sox have even remained remotely in the wild card race into September. So yes, things have been frustrating for him as of late, but overall he has had a very solid season for this team. It's just got to be frustrating for everybody, and him sitting there refusing to talk to the media reflects that frustration and shows that this team is feeling the same exact of anger that the fans are dealing with. We want the Red Sox to succeed, and they want to succeed even more so. I mean, they're the ones who are out there playing every day, and they want to be at their best, and they want to show their fans that they can be at their best. And when the results aren't there, it certainly has to be upsetting for the players. So Devers reflected that by refusing to speak to the media. Now, granted, he's not required to talk to the media. He doesn't have to, but him refusing to talk to the media in that situation is a tough look because of the fact that the Red Sox and the fans were hoping he could be that true team leader that they need. But somebody who's a team leader takes accountability in those types of situations, talks to the media and says, look, we're not playing well right now. I personally need to be better, kind of like Rich Hill did when he blew a game for the Red Sox recently, and he took complete responsibility for it and said, at the end of the day, I just need to go out there and pitch better. And that's what a true leader does. And Devers has done this before. This isn't the first time where he's avoided altogether talking to the media after a loss. And despite the frustration and maybe not wanting to talk to the media, he would gain a lot more respect among the fan base and other people in the baseball community if he went out there and talked to reporters and said, look, we are in a slump right now. We can get it together. I need to get things together at the plate and figure it out. And I trust that we will be okay. That goes a long way with somebody who's an outsider and is watching the game. If Devers goes out there and says, okay, I'm aware of what's going on here, things are not great, and we need to fix it ASAP. But sitting there and not talking to the media comes across like your conflict avoidance. And a true team leader isn't conflict avoidant. A true team leader goes out there and addresses the media head on and says, I understand all of the criticism that we're getting right now, and I believe that we as a team can turn things around. Because wouldn't you at least want to reassure the fans that you as a team are aware of what's going on and you want to do everything you can to turn things around? That is the approach Devers should have taken. And it's not even him being young as a factor anymore, because he's really not young anymore. He's 27 years old. So that's no longer an excuse. if he was a true team leader, he would have gone out there and not made the media wait around for as long as they did. And even if he did decide early on that he didn't want to speak with them, at least let them know earlier so that those reporters can go home instead of waiting around for over an hour for him to be interviewed. So definitely a tough look. Alex Cora wasn't super worried about it and did say that he doesn't think it's really a big deal because he's not required to talk to the media. But essentially, it's not a great look for the team's highest paid player. Alex Cora said, I don't think it's an issue. We all talked about this the last few years. I think he made some strides throughout the year. He made some comments in spring training. He sat there on that bench for like 20 minutes talking about the organization and a few things. People like it or not, he was there. And throughout the years, there's been stretches that he's been available to the media. Sometimes he's not. He's not comfortable with it yet. I think little by little, obviously the language thing comes into play. He's been better about that. I understand that the media has a job, and I understand that us as members of the organization, we're the spokesman. We're telling the story, and the fan base likes to hear the story when we're doing well, when we're struggling, when we're hurt, when we're not. That's something we always talk about to the players. Yesterday, he wasn't available. I know it became a story. Rafi, he's still learning. He's still kind of like a shy player. Sometimes he hates talking to the media. That's the bottom line. And yesterday wasn't a good day for that. It's not getting worse. The latest injury happened in Colorado. He dove for a ball. Coming out of spring training, he was a little bit banged up. He took care of that, and then everything was fine. But this one is a throwing one. It's the lead shoulder. Like I said, it's not getting worse, but it's not getting better. He's getting treatment. He's doing everything possible to go out there and perform. So he defended Devers a lot in that regard and said he's just not comfortable talking to the media always, and talked about his health and how he's not getting better or worse, but he's trying to resolve the problem and get to the bottom of the shoulder thing so that it doesn't carry over into next year. And I get not every player is super comfortable talking to the media, but at this point in his career, he should be more comfortable with that because he's been around the league for a while now, and he has been in this Red Sox organization for a while, and he's seen the highs and the lows. The Red Sox going from being the best team in baseball in 2018 and coasting to a World Series championship to now where they've been at the last few years of struggle. And I feel like he needs to do a little bit more to step up in those situations and take responsibility for him and the team as a whole for the struggles that they had been going through. And hopefully moving forward, he doesn't refuse to talk to the media as much. And even if he does, that he's considerate of their time and at least lets them know earlier so that they can go home if he doesn't plan on speaking to them. But overall, it shows to me that he's not ready to be the true team leader that the Red Sox need. So it might be time to look elsewhere for that true team leader. And it will be somebody that hopefully the Red Sox decide to extend sooner rather than later. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about a player who the Red Sox acquired at the trade deadline and has not exactly panned out since then, and it's becoming more and more of a tough look for Boston. If you're looking for a fun way to play daily fantasy sports, PrizePicks is your home. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. PrizePicks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Just download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. PrizePicks is so worth it to help you win lots of money, so you absolutely should check it out. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast. Host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sully's show is so much fun and he's super knowledgeable about baseball. So you definitely should check his show out after this. The Boston Red Sox have been very frustrating since the All-Star break, a team that had so much momentum, and then Craig Breslow went and tried to add to the team at the trade deadline to make them feel validated and give them a reason to stay competitive, because he truly felt like they had a shot at a wild card spot. But the team we see out there now is not the team that we saw earlier on in the season that was winning baseball games and staying competitive. We're seeing a team now that is very much looking like they've given up and going through the motions and just not putting in the same kind of effort that they had. And Rafael Devers, who avoided talking to the media on Tuesday night after the Red Sox loss, certainly helped portray the mood among this Red Sox team right now. But one player who has been significantly struggling since being acquired by the Red Sox is Danny Jansen. Now, obviously, there are so many players offensively who have struggled. Cedar Rafaela, who wasn't in the lineup for last night's game, has a 571 OPS, 0 walks, and 21 strikeouts in 22 games dating back to August 10th. And Rob Refsnyder also had a 4-hit game on August 3rd. And since then, he's 11 for 64 with 3 walks and 20 Ks in 22 games. So, I mean, the frustration is definitely valid. Guys, for some reason, just have not been clicking with the bats fully as of late. And there have been a lot of games recently where they have not been able to cash in when it mattered. But Danny Jansen has not really been able to cash in general in a Red Sox uniform. The numbers just have not been there. He was the lone hitter the Red Sox brought in before the deadline in an attempt to bring in another good right-handed bat that had a favorable offensive game style for Fenway Park, but it hasn't panned out for him so far yet. And Alex Cora criticized him for it. He said he's mishitting balls, not finishing at bats. It's part of the grind, man. Right now, we're grinding as an offense. Jarren Duran is the only one that's consistent along with Wilyer Abreu. But besides that, right now as an offense, we're not doing those things. So he does not like what he's seen from Danny Jansen overall. He just looks completely lost at the plate and doesn't have total control of the at-bat. He logged a 204 average with 5 RBIs and only 2 extra base hits through 19 games with the Red Sox. So Alex Cora was not afraid to be upfront about it. And what concerns me about that is he's not exactly validating the Red Sox decision to give up 3 prospects for him at the trade deadline, because he was projected to be a great fit for Fenway because of his ability to be a hard-hitting pull hitter, which is typically the style that thrives there. But the offensive production just has not been there. Yes, he's been good behind the plate. That's part of the reason the Red Sox brought him in, was because defensively he can help out a lot, but they also need him to be better offensively because they significantly lack in right-handed bats, and bringing him in, they hoped would help fix that. And so far it just has not. So Alex Cora has every right to criticize him in the way that he did. But a welcome development for the Red Sox offense would be if he turns things around over the course of this month. And he has a history in the past of turning things around in September. He has a 1.021 OPS in September since 2021. So he's been called a closer in the past because of his ability to just turn it on in the last month of the season. Obviously, a strong September would certainly be a welcome development for him and the Red Sox, but it's just far from ideal right now because he was the only right-handed acquisition that the Red Sox brought in. He was injured in September 2023, but in 2022, he had a 1.007 OPS and 4 home runs for a Blue Jays team that made a wild card appearance in 2021 when Toronto barely missed the playoffs after a crazy second half. His September OPS was 1.072 and he hit 5 home runs. So there's definitely a shot that he can turn things around, but I haven't seen enough to feel confident in that. Given the Red Sox inability to hit lefties as a whole, which they will see plenty of when they face the Baltimore Orioles and New York Yankees next week, he may be one of the most important bats in the lineup down the stretch. Obviously, if the team doesn't start winning soon, no hot stretch from him will ultimately matter in the long run because that would mean their playoff hopes are significantly gone. But until that happens and they are mathematically eliminated, the team has to keep searching for answers and finding reasons why they could still turn things around, especially from a morale standpoint. And if Jansen could be part of that reason that gives them hope and optimism, then I'm all for it. But I haven't seen much to feel confident that he'll turn things around in September. But given his pattern over the last few years, I don't think we really have a choice but to talk about it as a potential option that maybe we see him go out there and perform the way the Red Sox were hoping he would when they acquired him. Because the more he isn't productive offensively, the worse it looks for the Red Sox because of their main purpose for acquiring him in the first place was to get another right-handed bat in there who could help out against lefties. And so far, they haven't been able to rely on him to do that. The thing with Danny Jansen is his stay in Boston certainly won't last for much longer because of the fact that Kyle Teal is in AAA right now and will get the call up eventually to the Boston Red Sox. So my whole thing is if they have Jansen, then we can kind of deal with it for a temporary period of time, knowing that eventually Kyle Teal is going to be coming up and playing in the catcher position for him. So Jansen is somebody who in the interim they could maybe bring back next year temporarily until Teal comes up. But if they do that, they better hope that he displays some sort of productivity offensively, because the fact that the Red Sox gave up 3 prospects for him and he hasn't been a huge help so far has them seriously looking pretty bad in terms of the acquisitions that they did make overall at the trade deadline. So, when Alex Cora goes out and criticizes him straight up, that things are not very good. So I'm hoping to see more from him down the stretch here based on his history and his pattern of turning things on in September, because the Red Sox certainly do need that as they look to navigate what the rest of this season will be for them. Coming up, though, I'm going to be talking about a prospect who continues to impress for the Boston Red Sox organization, and you can be very excited about probably at the beginning of next year. Sandals, sunscreen, snacks for the kids. What do these have in common? You're probably buying a ton again this summer. But don't stress about the cost. Use Ibotta and get cash back on all of your purchases when you stock up on all of your summer essentials. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Ibotta is a great way to save on so many essentials. It truly is a game changer. So make sure you take advantage of it today in that very special deal. Here on Locked On Red Sox, I like to say that the Red Sox can help me feel a little bit better. But a lot of times that doesn't end up being the case, and they end up making me feel worse. And I start to lose some of my sanity because of the fact that I sit and watch this team every single day. Yes, I am a sad 162 game a season watcher. I don't miss any of them, even if I can't watch live. I'm that person who records it and watches it on repeat. I know some of you have to feel me on that. And no matter how bad things are, I'm still sitting there riding with this team. And yes, it feels like the door might be closing on this season, but what we can think about and be excited about is the future of this franchise and just the number of talented players who are in the Red Sox organization right now that could make a serious impact down the road. And one of those prospects is Roman Anthony, who recently helped the Red Sox to celebrate a significant milestone when he was named MLB's #2 prospect in baseball by Baseball America, with 6 Red Sox prospects featured in the top 100. He's a standout 20-year-old outfielder, has rapidly ascended through the ranks since being drafted 79th overall in 2022. And his performance in AAA Worcester, including a .315 batting average with 3 home runs over 18 games, has impressed both scouts and fans alike. Following only Tampa Bay's Junior Caminero in the rankings, his potential to reach the majors before turning 21 highlights his remarkable trajectory. And this ranking is also a promising sign for the Red Sox future and has energized the organization's players and coaches overall because they know there's somebody they can be very excited about who's super close to making his major league debut. He's the youngest Red Sox prospect to reach AAA in over 40 years. And on top of him, 6 Red Sox prospects are ranked in the top 100 list, emphasizing the team's strong farm system. Marcelo Meyer came in at number 11 with Christian Campbell and Kyle Teal at number 25 and 26, respectively. With continued strong performance, Roman Anthony is likely to make his major league debut very soon, which could alter the Red Sox roster dynamics. I've talked about this a lot on the show, how they need to decide what the outfield situation is going to look like for them next year and what's going to make sense. As more prospects advance through the system, the team may end up seeing a significant impact on their player development and future roster decisions. Ultimately, the Red Sox recognition in MLB's top 100 prospect rankings underscores an emerging wave of talent that could revitalize the franchise as a whole. Roman Anthony's ascent serves as a beacon of hope for Boston fans, signaling a promising future ahead, which again is something I've talked about. And I have sometimes had that problem of being too positive and never giving up on this team until they're mathematically eliminated. And I get starting to give up on this season. I feel like it's totally valid because their playoff hopes certainly are slipping further and further away as they can't gain ground on the Twins and Royals while they struggle to win games right now too. And they are running out of time with not very many games left. So it's totally reasonable for people to start thinking about the offseason and the future of this Red Sox organization. And Roman Anthony being where he's at and being the #2 prospect in all of baseball right now, how could you not be excited about that? How could that not make you feel like there's hope for the Red Sox down the road? And the thing is, all of this frustration and everything that the Red Sox organization has put us through could ultimately end up leading to a plan that comes to fruition that they've had for a while for the long term. Because if Roman Anthony continues to develop in the way that he is and perform at the level that the Red Sox are hoping that he will in AAA and he gets called up, then you're excited for a prospect who could truly thrive in Major League Baseball, along with some of his buddies who are also in AAA right now, that the Red Sox have really tried to build this system around. And even though, John Henry and Sam Kennedy and Red Sox ownership as a whole and front office have not always been transparent about the goal of this organization, it was pretty clear through their actions that they were trying to invest in the longer term future of this franchise, including when the big four of Roman Anthony, Kyle Teal, Marcelo Meyer, and Christian Campbell are all up in the majors making an impact. And it's really exciting to think about what this Red Sox team could be when they all get called up, because I think the Red Sox as a whole organization are expecting to see tons of success when those guys are up in the majors. So ultimately, we still do have to be patient. I know it's been very frustrating, and they do have to figure out a way to just get better pitching, because it's not going to matter. These guys' talent could get wasted if they don't acquire some pitching to support them when they're up in the majors. But if they can put everything together over the next couple seasons, when these guys are all getting their opportunity to play at the major league level, that's going to be huge for a team that's fan base has just been on its very frustrating end of hoping that this team will do something. Because we can sit here all day and watch games and criticize the product on the field, which is really easy to do right now, but they will look like geniuses if this young core is all up in the majors and the Red Sox start performing really well and are consistently in the playoff conversation year after year, and all the frustration and patience will end up having been worth it. But again, Craig Breslow has to prove that he can acquire solid pitching this offseason in particular before we can be excited about any of that. But Roman Anthony being named the number 2 prospect according to Baseball America is super exciting, and it's a huge accomplishment for a kid who has just grinded and worked super hard and just made his mark within this Red Sox organization, to the point where he just continues to be a guy that the Red Sox organization can rely on day to day to give the organization some hope for the future. So I'm very happy for him. I'm excited to see what happens with him for the rest of this season and into next year. And I'm hoping he eventually gets his chance next season to be called up to the majors and contribute for this Boston Red Sox team. So we will see what happens. But if you can take one thing away from this, it's, even if you're ready to give up on this season, look to the future and look to guys like Roman Anthony to help your fandom stay intact, because the future of this organization is super exciting and special. As always, keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.